Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal's space program, where last episode we brought Bill up into orbit here because he's supposed to be in the Starship construction vehicle, and we are going to head on over there now. Now I did accidentally burn a little bit before the start of this, so our periapsis is a little bit lower than it's supposed to be, but it does not matter in the slightest. We're going to not set the rescue craft as our target. I want to create a maneuver, which is of course going to be somewhere out over here. So the question is, what do we need to actually intercept this? Well, let's just bring our apoapsis on out, and let's see what we've got here for interception timing. Probably going to need to be after an orbit. Yes. Okay, I'm going to use the graphical maneuver editor. It's easier to click the button in 4K. So that'll be absolutely fine, and we're just bringing this right on around to about here. I don't like how it disappears on us there. We're actually interested in this encounter, not the one out over here. But whatever, it doesn't actually matter all that much. I guess we could do it out over here. Okay, so that's about 9 kilometers separation. We can dial that in a little bit, but we don't need to dial it in too much. This is good enough. We can definitely do a corrective burn from there. So we're going to align to this node. We're going to warp on around about 1 orbit here. Fantastic. And make sure that we're aligned to that node. Thank you very much. And we're going to commence this burn in about 50 seconds. 40, 30, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Off we go. Fantastic. That'll do. And from here, of course, we are now in this encounter. So 9.9 kilometers, that seems absolutely okay. Let's warp to... this apoapsis is a little awkward. We could definitely do a bit of a radial turn. I'm not sure which direction we need to go. Yes, this is a decent direction to go, but it's a little awkward. It's fine. I'm just going to bring us into about here. Okay, we're going to need to hop into target mode, of course, which it automatically did there, but I moved us off of it. Okay, so that is fine. What is our relative speed going to be? It doesn't actually say, awkwardly. Okay, 104 meters per second. That is reasonably high. We're going to want to position ourselves about here and just push that node right on up. So we're getting a pretty hefty corrective burn here. Okay, I'm going to want to do a small correction out this direction. That looks about right. We can drift in and let this build up a little bit. So let's head to relative velocity minus. We're going to, of course, have this separate a little bit. Let's warp a little closer over here. I want to let this drift. Okay, that did drift quite a lot, which isn't shocking. We knew that we were going to be about 4 kilometers off, right? So I'm going to put us in kill rot, and we're just going to push that node right on over. Just doing a small correction here. Okay, we're going to want to move this around to prograde. We're moving a little too slow now, so we're going to want to pull this node out over this direction. That looks reasonable. 5.2 meters per second. We still have a lot of drift here, but that's not shocking. We're a ways out still. So we're just 4.3 kilometers here. We probably want to move towards the target with a little bit more speed here. Okay, I'm just pulling us over, and we're going to burn towards target here and just let this dial in a little bit until it loses efficiency. There we go, 0.9 kilometers. That will do. Now we're going to flip around to relative velocity minus, and I'm going to warp forward up over here. So we're definitely moving quite a lot closer to the vehicle. That'll be fine. And we're drifting a decent amount. We knew that that would happen. We can do a corrective burn right about now, so I'm going to do that burn out over this way in kill rot. Just correcting that burn right on over. So that's our new velocity, 0.1 kilometer separation. Looks much better. So we're going to warp up over this way. We are going to still see a little bit of drift here, but that's absolutely fine. There is our target vehicle. Just going to correct this a little bit more. We should now be at about 0.0. There we go. And let's head on over this way, because we don't want to actually impact this, right? That would be awkward if we impacted. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to get this guy into position, and then we'll deorbit this as soon as Bill is over. We don't have to dock up or anything like that. So let's begin a deceleration. We're down to 10 meters per second. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. I'm going to take it down to about 1 meter per second for now. And we can head in a little bit closer here. Cool. And just angling for 0.0. Okay, this is good enough. Bill, you can EVA, and you are just going to head on over. That was a very awkward way to turn around, but sure. So all Bill is doing is hopping into this starship here. He should have been in here to begin with, but he overslept. And, I mean, what are you going to do about that, right? A Kerbal needs his beauty sleep. Absolutely. At this point, I want to go to retrograde. And we're going to just deorbit this. We're not looking to recover it at all. We're just going to deorbit. So that's going to come on down. I'm just going to put it on a collision trajectory with Kerbin so that it'll just go away. There we go. No problem there. And now this guy is ready to head out. Although the game is a little bit confused about our Delta V. No doubt about that. I'm going to move some amount of fuel down, most likely. Yeah, we'll move some amount down. I'm not sure how much we're really going to need here. Somewhere around... This should be more than sufficient in theory. Okay, so we'll do that for now. And of course we need to set our other starship tanker as our target. So that'll be out over here. We can see we are 2.1 degrees off in our ascension. So I'm going to head up over here. We're going to do an inclination change. Just bring that down to about here. Looks good. 77 meters per second for that. This should be more than enough fuel to get this going. Should be no problem whatsoever there. So we're just going to warp our way around, very slowly turning with our reaction wheels. And that seems absolutely fine for the moment. Right, we don't need that. We're going to have a spare Clampatron docking port. I need to remember that for the next flight. But that's fine. We're going to warp on forward here, and we're going to prepare for this burn, which will be in about 1 minute now. It'll be about a 7-second burn, which seems absolutely fine. So 40 seconds, 30, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. And off we go. Excellent. Just getting that last little bit of the burn done. That'll do. We'll put it back on kill rot. And now we should be at 0.0 degree inclination. Next, of course, we can see how many orbits we're going to need to rendezvous this. It's going to be a number, and that's absolutely fine. Okay, so somewhere around here or so, bringing it back to here. That seems good, actually. So that's 4.6 kilometer separation. That is doable. Yeah, that's definitely doable. So we'll keep it at around that 4.6. We could dial it in a little bit radially. Anti-radially. Nope. It's just timing. Nope. Okay, this is as good as we're going to get. At least for now. That's okay. We can do corrective burn. So this is only 31.7 meters per second. Let's align to that node. That is, of course, going to be in 2 hours and 22 minutes. I'm going to hop into the map mode for this, since we're going to take several orbits. And we'll just warp our way through these orbits. Okay. We're reasonably close now, but we should let it get a little closer. There, that's probably good enough. Okay, so we're going to warp on around here, getting ourselves several orbits completed until we are in a decent conjunction. Cool. Now we've got about 1 minute until this burn. 40 seconds, 30, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Okay. We'll call that good enough. And how are we doing here? 4.6 kilometers. That's about what we expected. Okay, so next up, I'm going to warp us to about, what's our relative speed going to be? 27.9. Okay, that's not a lot of relative speed. I'm going to warp us to up here. We're probably going to have a lot of drift at that speed. So I want to come in a little faster. We're going to go into target mode here, and we're going to go to relative velocity up. Specifically, what we want to do is we want to turn over this way. And we want to correct this towards target. Now, we are a little slow to turn, but we're not tremendously slow to turn with this setup. So this is actually quasi-reasonable. Looks good. I'm commencing a burn out this direction. Okay. So a nice corrective burn there, adding us in a bunch of relative momentum. 0.3 kilometers looks good. So we're going to do relative velocity minus here. We're going to have to do some Kerbal construction, of course, once we get there. And that is going to be installing a docking port. I'm going to install both docking ports here. We're going to then separate out this guy once we arrive. This gets attached to the starship, to these docking ports that we're going to install. Then, of course, we're going to need to put in struts and a fuel duct. And then this deorbits. That's the overall idea here. We have a heat shield on this, right? We do. Okay. So we should be absolutely fine on that front. No issue whatsoever. That heat shield, or rather that decoupler is there. Yeah, I don't know why this is not showing up as having any delta V. It's showing up as having 0 seconds of burn. It shouldn't, because we have a Poodle directly connected to a Rockamax X216. So I'm not sure what's going on with that one, but whatever. So we're currently coming in here. We're about 2.8 kilometers away. I want to put us on kill rot and make a small burn out this direction. This is just a small corrective burn. This thing is definitely a little bit sluggish to turn on these maneuvers. At least without RCS. But that looks good. Okay, we'll bring it to relative velocity minus. We're about 1.9 kilometers out from our target at this point, moving in at 30.7 meters per second. And we are currently at a separation of 0.0 kilometers. So that looks good. We're possibly on a collision course here. Possibly. I don't necessarily want to be on a collision course. We'll stop before we get there. But we need to get in pretty close. No doubt about that. So let's just align ourselves up to this retrograde node. And get in as close as we can here. We just need to shave about 30 meters per second here. And that's looking very solid. Okay. So we're about 500 meters out from the starship now. Moving in at 30 meters per second. I'm going to commence this burn shortly. Okay, let's start decelerating. We are definitely going to miss the target. That's good. I just want to bring us down to somewhere around 5 meters per second right now. And we would also like to do a slight corrective burn out over this way. Okay, let's head to relative velocity minus at this time. We want to get pretty close to this thing, but we don't quite want to hit it. And I want to see where this vectoring is taking us. It looks like it's going to be basically parallel, and this is pretty much the trajectory that I want to be on. Yeah, that looks reasonable. We might be a hair too close over here, but it looks broadly okay. Okay, I'm going to decelerate us down a little bit more. Even if we impact, I want it to be slow enough that the impact isn't going to do anything. But I think we're clear here. So I want to install these tanks down here at the base. That'll be fine. We just need to move in a little bit closer here. Looks good. Yeah, this trajectory is basically perfect. Maybe if we were a little further down this way, but we can do that with RCS maneuvering if we really, really wanted to. For the time being, I'm content with this. So I'm just going to bring us to a halt. We'll call that good. Put it on kill rot. And we are basically parked next to each other in space. Now, you'll note that we are not going to be docking up. That's not a thing that we're going to be doing exactly here. So Bill's going to EVA, with his mission being to install these docking ports, right? And we have very specific docking ports that we want him to install. So I'm going to come down over this way. RCS is going to need to be on, and he is going to hop over this direction, with the idea being that we're going to take this docking port, and I would like to install that right about down here. I do want snapping to be on, and in terms of rotation, it'll need to be rotated kind of like this. Okay, and we're just going to need to get a little bit further here. So I'm going to drop it in space, and we're going to head down a little bit. I am not used to Kerbal construction having a frame rate after all of that ISS construction. This feels good. Okay, so I'm going to put this right here. That did impart a little bit of momentum here, that's noted. And we are going to want to probably snap this into position. There we go. That'll do. Now we're going to need to go get the other one. So we're going to head up over here. Ooh, that's a bit too much. I also want to make sure that this guy is on kill rod. Okay. So we'll do that for now, and we then want to grab this docking port. Okay. And we're going to head down over here. We want to install that on this side, basically centered over here. There we go. That picked up a lot of roll over here, but that's not shocking. We have some momentum there. Okay, so I want to snap that into position out over here-ish. That's not perfect, is it? It's pretty close. Okay, we need to, unfortunately, exit that movement mode, but we can do something like that. There we go. And now enter the movement mode again. What I want here is in local coordinates for this guy to move up a little bit. Okay, that should be pretty close to perfect in terms of positioning. Close enough. So now we're going to head back to this starship. This did pick up a fair amount of momentum. There's no doubt about that. So we're probably going to have to realign our vectors here. Yeah, it's definitely drifting off. But let's just hop right on in here. Ooh, okay. Bill, come on. There you go. Yeah, I'm definitely not used to having a frame rate when doing this. Okay, so grab that board, and yeah, 0.6 meters per second. So we're going to go over to relative velocity minus. This is not at all surprising that this ended up happening. And what we need to do here is just kill that relative speed, right? And so we're just going to head on over to here. And I do want to set this guy as our target. There we go. And now we're going to just get into position here and get rid of that relative speed. We can actually use RCS to get rid of some of this. That's probably not the worst of ideas, in all actuality, because our turn speed is still reasonably low for this. But that's good enough. Now I want to point at target and start getting a little bit closer to the target. So let's get positioned for that. Because, of course, what we want to do is we want to get this guy installed to the target. So I'm just going to burn us in at about 0.5 meter per second. Okay, now I'm going to pull all of the fuel out of here and back into here. We no longer need this. We're going to ditch this. That is unfortunately not going to be recovered, but that's fine. So we're going to go ahead and decouple this TD50 decoupler, although we don't necessarily want it to hit us out over here. So I'm going to go over to, like, surface up and eject this on a slightly different trajectory. So that's going to go out over this way-ish. Something along the lines of that. Okay, so that's going to drift off that way and hopefully not collide with anything at all. So next up, we need this guy to have this Clampotron docking port as target. I want to be heading over towards target here, and we're going to use RCS. In fact, I want to control from here, which is going to be very awkward. But let's do that, and we're going to use RCS here. I also want to get this guy lined up a bit. Now, we're probably going to have some solar panel issues here, if I had to guess. This is not necessarily intended to be docked with this still attached. We can try it, but I'm not 100% certain that that's going to work. I want to control from here, set you as target, and I want to point at target. So that's going to start very slowly turning over here. I'm going to use RCS here to very slightly change our orientation. Excellent. We're probably going to want to reduce our speed as well. But we're going to want to retract this solar panel. Like I said, this is not necessarily intended to be docked up with this still attached, but we can do that, in theory. There's not actually a problem with it. So we also are going to want to change our rotation here. So we're going to want to change that to be something more akin to this. I've overshot it a little bit. It'll probably be slightly crooked, but that's okay. We're going to need to change our overall momentum here. I'm going to slow us down a little bit as well. So we're currently down to 0.2 meters per second is like the target right now. Okay. What I want to be checking at this juncture is how are we doing in our angling? And it's close, but it's not quite the angling that I want. I feel like that's better. But it's not perfect. I think that's much closer. Just trying to line this up as best as possible. It's not going to be perfect or it's not going to be possible for me to perfectly align this. So that's absolutely okay. Can we pull fuel out of here in order to fill this tank? We could, but it wouldn't quite fill it. So that is definitely noted. Let's just bring this in for now, and I'm just adjusting our velocity that extra little bit. I feel like we are a little bit crooked this way, but I'm going to go with it. There we go. We are now docked. I think that's good enough for the time being. Okay, Bill, your mission is now to EVA, and we are going to do some strut work and some duct work. So we're just going to head out over this direction. And we're going to grab out of the cockpit here, if we can. Okay, we just had to get a little closer. That's fine. I'm going to grab one of these struts, and that is going to go from here. Well, that didn't actually go. From, like, here to here. There we go. So we'll just strut that in to solidify it a bit. I want to put 4 struts into each of these. So that, of course, means that we're going to have to be in range of this to grab these. So I'm going to take one and put it there. And see, these are going to be temporary, for the record. Okay. So we'll just do that for now, just so that we have the struts out. And then we're going to grab our fuel duct, and that is going to go from here to here. There we go. Now we can move down and do that, but I do want to get out the other struts and the fuel duct, which is for the other side of this. So we're going to grab one like that, and then 1, 2. That one I don't think went. Where did that strut go? Did we just drift out of range? Oh, we just drifted out of range. Okay, that's fine. 3. And can you head this way, please? Thank you. 4. So that's temporary positioning. We're going to head down over here, and I don't want these struts to be in this position, of course. So we're going to take this strut out of here, and I want to put that instead like this. There we go. And then I'm going to do like 1 on each of these sides of the docking port. So 1 here, and then 1 about here. That should be nice and solid. Looks good. Then we can head back up, and we are ready to head back and do this again, because we need to get another dock going here, right? Bill, you can head down over this way. Looks good. So we'll grab on here, and we are, at this point, ready to detach from here. So this decoupler can detach. We're maybe a little bit concerned about this photovoltaic panel. I'm going to retract that one. We'll put this in kill rot. RCS off. Thank you very much. And we're going to decouple this TD25. So off it goes, and this capsule is going to get itself a little bit of distance. Looks good. So we want to angle this. Okay, be in kill rot, please. I want to angle this in orbital retrograde, but I don't know what direction that is. We're just kind of pushing ourselves off. I guess that's okay. This way is orbital retrograde. That's a little awkward. We're going to want to drift until we're a little more clear. In fact, we probably want to burn out this direction first, but we haven't activated this engine, which we should do. Okay, so we're going to do that, getting ourselves a little bit of distance here. I want to extend this solar panel, and while I'm thinking about it, extend this solar panel as well. And yes, you are just going to be junk for the time being, unfortunately. And this is mildly awkward that this remained. Okay, that's not necessarily what was intended, that this TD25 decoupler would remain here like this. It's a little bit of an eyesore, but I mean, this whole thing is a bit of an eyesore, so I guess that's absolutely fine. Let's just deorbit this guy and bring Bill on home. We can just put Bill in the next starship, and that'll be absolutely fine. I know I said previously that we could leave him there, but we can just put him in the next starship. It's okay. So we're going to warp on forward. We're now on our way home. We don't need to retain this fuel. Now we know how much fuel we needed, which wasn't a lot. And that's okay. We knew that we wouldn't need a lot, but we didn't have RCS on this. So we'll decouple that, and we're just going to bring this on in. Cool. So we're going to be at surface velocity minus as we re-enter here, just double checking that these are drogues. They are. That looks good. And we're re-entering here. We're going to retract our solar panels. And let's physics warp and bring Bill on home. This should be absolutely no problem to return Bill. No problem whatsoever. This should be more than sufficient braking capacity. So that all looks good. We're going to bring up our second craft in the next episode and get this thing completed with the second tank. We absolutely need it to be symmetrical in mass, otherwise we're going to have problems. So it just needs to be close enough to symmetrical that we can deal with it. And that should be absolutely fine. Okay, Bill is decelerating nicely here. I'm actually surprised Bill can control this, now that I think about it. Why can Bill control this? That's intriguing. It feels like he shouldn't be able to. But okay. You know what? I'm not going to question it. Maybe he can't. No, he definitely can. We're able to control that. Strange. I have no explanation. Okay, well, our chutes are deploying, and that is fine. That's just our drogues for now, but the mains will deploy shortly. This is pretty overkill on the mains, to be honest. And we're going to head on down. Looks like we're going to land on this cliff, which could be mildly awkward for us. No doubt about that. But downward we go here, and this will be absolutely fine. It is weird that Bill can control this, though. Maybe there's a built-in control mechanism here, but we're just going to land here. Oh, okay, we're not going to slide. Perfect. We'll recover Bill, and that is good. Now, I am going to call that a mission in terms of cash. I'm very concerned about our cash levels. We've had a very high cash burn rate, and I'm going to call that a mission. I'm going to call the next one a mission, and then the actual trip to refuel and return is going to be a mission as well. So that'll be fine. I feel like we're in a pretty good spot here as far as all that goes, as long as we have some cash flowing in. And that's okay. So next flight is going to be basically the same as this one, except we're not going to have to do the Bill taxi in theory. And that'll be great. So let's get ourselves our cash for that mission. There we go. No problem whatsoever there. And now it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we're going to get the second tank up there and hopefully installed all in one episode. That should be a doable thing. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Kentogan, Ali Lee, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12UK, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.